Alright everyone, a big question being asked right now, is CNN becoming a far-right news network? Yes indeed, other legacy media outlets and of course leftoid craptivists right now are saying that CNN has gone right-wing. Why? Because they've kicked off a couple of anchors and staff that are severely Trump derangement syndrome afflicted. I would point out that there is no pro-Trump voice in CNN. If you go to their website, if you watch, and you shouldn't, their television coverage, I don't know who under 50 still watches TV. So if you own a TV, basically the only purpose is to play fucking videos on it, right? YouTube videos or Twitch streams or something like that. Why the hell would you be watching cable at this point? I don't understand why. There's nothing you can get there that you can't get on demand anyway at a bare minimum, just using fucking Amazon and Netflix and shit. What the fuck is the purpose? Years ago, I remember babysitting my niece, and it's like there's a TV there. It's hooked up to a PlayStation, and then you go and you navigate the YouTube videos. Nobody gives a shit about cable anymore. CNN is dying edifice. Anyway, the idea, link in the description, archived of course. The basic premise is that they're trying to compete with Fox for the conservative audience, and so they're going far right. Please tell me how CNN could even roughly be deemed right-wing, other than the fact that they've throttled back the Trump derangement syndrome just enough to maybe get some of the neocons to watch them. The average age of a CNN viewer is 67 goddamn years old. For Fox somehow, at least until recently, it was slightly worse than that, although I think their audience is a very, very spring lamb age of 64 now, if I remember seeing an article last year. So they've supplanted CNN with the youthful audience of the under 65s. CNN is getting dogpiled, and I love to see it. Number one, because the leftoids are threatening to boycott CNN. I support it completely. Not for this reason. I mean, if they've got slightly less TDS, it's not going to woo me into watching them or taking them seriously. For some people, that's a big sticking point. That's fine. I support boycotting CNN. It's legacy media. YouTube forces them down people's throats. Like half the time, if you watch one of my videos, in the up next area, it's going to be CNN or Fox News. Therefore, I also say boycott Fox. Absolutely, you should turn off all cable legacy networks. You should never pay attention to newspapers and shit like that. The only purpose to paying attention to them at all should be to right-click and copy the link out, run it through an archive so they can't fudge their article later on when they're caught out lying with their fucking pants down, and then you front that article to people like me. And then we can actually go through it, the archive of course, so that there's no clickbaiting involved because they're all ad-driven, and then reanalyze it to point out all the lies. Over and over, how many fucking videos have I made just on lie by omission and lie by structure with regards to legacy media articles? And I'm not the only one, by the way, doing this. CNN's not right-wing. It's evidence of one other thing. It's evidence that the far left has gone off a goddamn deep end. They've completely lost the plot at this point. If you look at CNN, if I look at their front page right now, I'll see Orange Man bad, Queen dead, of course, earthquakes, any political coverage. You go to the political page, it's Orange Man bad. Here's Biden's great idea. What a wonderful guy. He's right about MAGA, tens of millions of people being Nazis. It's Trump derangement syndrome from top to bottom. Under what premise would anyone conceive of that as right-wing unless their TDS has become so severe that they can't deal with the fact that there might be one page B article countering that basic narrative? This is conceived of as far-right. What you see is a purity spiral and a growing echo chamber of leftist thought. The craptivists of the left really are just there to put out crazy opinions and gain clout anyway. So they try to out-clout one another. The problem is that, therefore, on any issue, they're going to take up more and more edgy lines of thought, of commentary. So, for instance, with Trump and the Mar-a-Lago raid, it will go from Trump probably broke the law, haha, maybe we've got him this time, to Trump stole nuclear secrets, to Trump sold nuclear secrets to other countries. Even when these things are countermanded by basic facts, it doesn't really matter. In fact, I've seen even legacy media articles, when they post anything that's factual with regards to it, they get dogpiled by all the leftoid craptivists who are clout chasing on Twitter and TikTok and places like that. to Trump is an outright seditionist, he tried to overthrow the United States, we need to put him before a military tribunal. The problem is that the leftoid craptivists are never going to throttle back what they're saying and what their audiences genuinely believe, because they would get dogpiled too, CNN learning this the hard way. They're now having to deal with the same pink-haired mob that they once loved and courted, and that was climbing aboard with CNN. It was funny, for a while CNN was more left-wing than MSNBC, arguably, at least in some ways. Certainly with TDS, we expect MSNBC to be Orange Man bad. Their network only applies to leftoids. They have no other audience. That's why they're small. CNN, though, had a broader coalitional audience with like neoliberals and a handful of anti-Trump neocons. They've decided to branch out further because they're a fucking corporation. That's what they try to do. They don't want to keep losing money like they did with CNN Plus. How well that went over. I think that it would be fine if their network collapsed entirely. I think the same about all the big networks. MSNBC, CNN, Fox News, NBC, CBS. There's really no point to them in the world. They're inefficient. They require enormous budgets to do what a handful of vloggers can get together in one shared rental property and webcams and microphones and a few green screens. A budget that's 1/100th that of any of the major news networks can effectively do the entire thing that major news networks do. And there's more engagement, it's more fun, it's more interesting, and it's a lot younger. And this is why the legacy media is losing. So again, link in the description if you want to see the funniest shit that you've seen all day. CNN, which is one of the big legacy media networks, getting dogpiled by the rest of the legacy media as well as leftoids, even independent ones, for becoming right-wing. Because they fired a couple of people who literally talk about nothing else other than Donald Trump. Donald Trump, for example, arrived in D.C. the other day. This is trending currently on Twitter. To be clear, leftoids are running themselves in circles right now speculating why would Trump go back to D.C. He was having fun golfing at the Mar-a-Lago and making like the wildest speculations, and it's the funniest thing ever. It's like watching a dog chase its tail until it gets so fucking drunkenly and stupidly dizzy that it vomits and shits itself at the same time. That's basically an apt metaphor for what we see among the left today. That's about all. Peace out.